Hello, how are you? My name is Vanessa Ortali. I am the founder of the Ladies Community and Heart and Mind Talks. And today I am bringing to you another interview for our online summit. The summit is called The One, and the theme of this summit is one with purpose, one with self, one with others. And our next guest is the perfect addition to bring her knowledge of community and spirituality and purpose into this conversation. So I present to you Jessie May Wolfe. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Oh, Vanessa, I'm so happy to be here with this beautiful community that you've built. And just at this time, it feels so important to be connecting. So I'm really honored. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And what she's saying and referring to is coronavirus, which now you'll notice in these interviews, we haven't mentioned all of them in coronavirus in all of them, because this is actually happening after the craziness. So we're in it, we're right there. And we wanted to really focus in this interview of how do we connect to self and others in crisis, in crazy times, and what tools can we turn to help us stay connected and stay grounded? Because I know you practice that with your community and everything that you offer. So I think this is the perfect time to just chat about that, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in what's going on that we forget to adapt and forget to connect, you know?
So true.
Yeah.
I mean, I can riff on that. Do you want me to?
I'm like, you know what? I would like to start because some people may know you as Jessie May, the fashion and jewelry designer. So I would love for you to talk about, how did you switch careers and find your purpose in what you're doing right now?
Yeah, sure. I can give the snapshot, because it's a long journey, and I've had many creative endeavors and entrepreneurial passages, if you will. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. You know, I studied communications with a minor in film, and then I got into photography, communications, design, marketing, and all of that evolved into my brand, Jessie May. Over the course of that, I lived in London, I lived in Australia. So there have been many passages, like I said, but all of which have now contributed to what I do with HeartRise, which we'll get to. But the Canadian passage, and I am from Montreal for any of you Canadians tuning in, and I love it because whenever I say out and about, or there's certain words processed, they're always like, oh, all the Americans think I sound Canadian. But,
the giveaway.
Exactly. Subtle, but yes. And so I started, when I moved back from London, I wasn't that inspired by the design opportunities in terms of career, and I decided to start my own collection. So I had been working at an art publishing company in London, working as a designer, designing amazing books on Halston, the designer, and I worked on this other project called Fruits, which was the founder of Dazed and Confused. It was like this amazing Japanese kind of cultural book, and just so many awesome projects. And I moved back, and the entrepreneurial spirit in me was just lit. So I got into starting my own collection, which was named Jessie May, my name. May is my middle name, for those of you curious. And those of you who may know the brand, we used to sell it in Holt's, Holt Renfrew, for those of you who are Canadian. And so that evolved. I birthed this collection that was really creative. The symbol was the butterfly, and this was back in 2003. And that sort of anthem and that rhythm and that transformational energy has really been the guiding force that has allowed me to now emerge as and birth what is now HeartRise. But it's the same pulse. It was that same creative vision. And I built that, and I found it was 2008 when the economy was sort of at another downturn and really a kind of critical point. And, you know, I built up the line to the point where, like I said, I got it into Holt Renfrew, and we had several different huge accounts, and it was exciting. It looked outwardly measurably successful, but inwardly I was struggling, and I just wasn't happy anymore. And the sort of creative spirit of what had allowed me to birth the brand had been lost a bit in translation. And I remember feeling disenchanted, and it was just one season after another, one collection after another, and it was just this rat race. So I just took stock and tuned into what was really important, and coming home to my own heart, my own vision. And that's when I sort of shifted gears and got on the coaching and sort of wellness path, sort of really moving into what is now HeartRise. And I can sort of.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. I want to ask, how did many people believe that obviously we're moving into another recession and what's happening now? How did 2008 change you, and how did you adapt in those times that you can now teach so that
Yeah.
other people can adapt based on what's going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was a real looking at the times, looking at the circumstances. And I do believe that there is a real rebirth happening right now. I mean, things are uncertain, things are being shaken up in ways beyond what we've ever seen in most of our lifetime. And at that time with 2008, it was the economic recession. Now it's even more because so many systems are having to be reset and will have to be. I do believe there is an evolutionary emergence happening on the planet. I really actually do think there's a reset happening. So I have faith in a greater way than when it was even just the economic recession in 2008. I feel like we're being really shaken up so that we can reemerge stronger. So I have faith in that. And it was a similar faith at that time in 2008 where I was just disenchanted by the rat race of it all. I was being called to do something more meaningful. I shifted gears. I literally like exit stage left. People thought I was nuts. But they did when I started the clothing line too, not in a bad way. They knew I was a wild free spirit and an entrepreneur at heart and brave heart rebel. But at the time, starting a clothing line, being a little Montrealer, even though I was stylish and used to do styling, it was like, good luck with it, as the naysayers love to say. And I did it and I rocked it and I had 400 stores and I was in InStyle and all the yada yada, all the outward success. But inwardly, like I said, I was miserable by the end. And I just knew there was a heartbeat inside. There was something greater. And I felt this compulsion to work with others, to inspire others. It had always been my draw and my passion and my purpose. Being the eldest of four, really guiding so much of their course, and also being a mentor for so many, and being a camp counselor, and just having this, just leadership in me. Really being a brave heart. I mean, I remember my dad used to say, like you have to break the ice. It was sort of this and that was very much a role that I played in so many dimensions and aspects and communities in my life. So it was sort of something that I took on from a young age. And when I shifted gears and got into what became coaching in 2008, and I found this space, this school in San Diego. So many people initially were like, which school? And it wasn't even about the school. It was okay, but it wasn't that. It was more that I gave myself permission to do what I knew I was here to do, which was work with others, inspire others. I would go back to old school journals where I'd come home after a night out when I was 18 or 19 and be like, oh my God, I loved that inspiring conversation and getting people inspired to follow their dreams and their passion. And that's what lit me up. And it always was that pulse in me. And I was really giving myself permission to own that as a career and to shift into that. And so there were a few chapters in between. I won't get into them, but they're kind of interesting because there were a few little carrots that were dangled my way. I had an offer and an opportunity to design Nicole Richie's first collection, which I did, which everyone's like, wow. And I know I had that same wow. And it was sort of the universe testing me, like, you sure you want out of fashion? And this guy had been offering me other opportunities too, to do private label for Bloomingdale, as all these different opportunities. And I was just like, it just, nothing spoke to me. But then when he offered that, he knew he had me. So it was like a real test. And I did say yes, but it was short lived. So I took the lesson, I took the memo quickly, and I exited and I got here. And I won't get into details with that, but it was just, I knew in my heart I didn't want to be in fashion anymore. There were a lot of back end issues with nothing to do with her, and I loved her design and the creative, but it was the team itself, and it was just the same rat race. And I was just like, wow, this was the universe showing me, you really need to follow your heart and your truth and your vision. And so I moved out to LA on a tourist visa. And people are always like, I swear, I think we're going to start a visa branch of HeartRise just to support the Canadians and the international peeps who I have one of my dear Ellie from Barcelona, and people who I've guided in how to be here and how to, mind you, I don't know if this is the place to want to be right now, but we'll see. I do believe though that, this heartfulness is what guided me to be here. And then I got into the coaching. I gave myself permission. I got my first client on the flight. It was an older, amazing gay man who by the end of the flight was crying in my lap. I was like, and it was just, I really, in giving myself permission, I started the journey. And what the beauty of it and what I believe in, and for any of you in transition right now, and just really calling in what in your heart is true, but also in a bit of fear and overwhelm because there are so many shifts happening. It's listening and heeding and honoring what's true for you and letting that lead, because it's so easy to subscribe to the fear. Had I been in fear mindset of, I only have a 6-month visa and I only have this much money and I came out here and how am I going to make it work? That would not have gotten me to where I am now. And fast forward 11 years later. So it evolved, and I continued to build the coaching practice slow and steady. I started doing groups. I would do heart circles at my home. I started a podcast back in 2011, Sunny Side Up. The old school vintage editions are still up. Actually, Anita, who connected us, still loves Sunny Side Up. She swears by it. It's so cute. I love it. But I was doing podcasts before they were even a thing. Now they're everywhere. And we've relaunched. We have another one called High on Heart that's on Spotify and all over. But I just followed that heartbeat, that pulse, and I kept listening, and it kept evolving. And I took on different trainings and modalities and learned from different disciplines. But most of my real juicy trench work was about learning from others and being in the trenches. I really believe that experience is the heart of understanding so for all of your entrepreneurs and creatives, I really believe that we learn so much from each other. We can learn stuff online and we can learn stuff in textbooks, but when we get to do the work and we get to be with each other and learn from each other, it's amazing what's possible. So I'm really passionate about that, and it's what guided my whole journey. There's so much to unpack within that, but HeartRise is a method that was born out of that, and it's a practical method that I could share a little bit more about, but it helps you to stay anchored in that heart intelligence, and we now bring it into companies and work with teams and creatives and all kinds. So that's a big
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, let's dive more then into this HeartRise practice.
Yeah.
What is it, and how can people implement it in their daily life?
Yeah. So basically what I was witnessing as I was shifting into coaching was that a lot of it was done from sort of a mindset kind of heady place. And while that was fascinating to me, I was also really understanding that there was more to this emotional intelligence part, and that there was more in the heart happening. Even all the big decisions I made, like those sort of big leaps of faith and those courageous steps, or even the ones that were more fear-based, they were all guided by a different kind of heart knowing that I couldn't quite understand or put into words, but there was something there. So I really explored what that was through my work with others in the field, and then also in different modalities of study. So I am versed in different trainings from east to west, some of the science side, as well as some of the more energetic modalities like Reiki and shamanism, and the science side with heart math, and some of the science supporting the actual intelligence and science of the heart, because we've not really learned how to, or we've not been taught to trust the heart. We sort of think of the heart as, oh, it's soft and it's mushy-wishy, and I don't want, it's all mindset and it's all heady. And look, I'm all about that. But if you don't get the head on board with the heart, let me know how that's working for you, and especially in times like now, right? Like, how do we get the head and the heart cooperating? And so that's what HeartRise is all about. It's really cultivating that heartful intelligence. It's learning how to anchor in heart. And it is a practical method that helps you, as I like to say, alchemize the noise. So you can take the stress and the busy and move it through the engine of the heart to really empower this rhythm, this beingness, this knowing, this intelligence that actually connects us. And I love to say we all know each other by heart. And I really believe that when we're in our heart, we witness each other. We get to collaborate, connect, co-create. It's just a unifying force. And it's beautiful to witness how transformative it can be, even at a team level, from working with corporate teams, working in schools. So it's a 4-step method. I can kind of break it down a little more, but essentially get you out of your head and into your heart. And then with that, you can use it in a practical way. So who, which is what I call the busy mind, can get down with it because it's practical, But then once you learn it, you can get into flow, and you're like, well, I'm not in flow right now. We got to reset, And then other times you can, so it's beautiful. It just helps to recalibrate you. And especially at times like these where it's like, there's just a lot going on, and it can be very destabilizing. And it's really easy to subscribe to the fear and the pandemonium, which only just takes us off our center even more, because everything is energy. So it's super important that we have agency, and the heart is the most powerful source. It's our engine. That electromagnetic field is super powerful. It's one of the things I share a lot about in the teachings, like the vibes, right? The vibrational energy. The heart is the epicenter. So if you think about it, I actually do workshops called The Vibes Don't Lie. We know this is true, right? You meet somebody, they're putting out the vibes. It's either like, that's some good juice, you bring it in, or you're like, keep that right over there. Thank you very much, right? So we know, and we do energetically understand that, but we've not been taught how to work with it, or how to harness it, or how to even repurpose toxic energy. So this really helps to reset.
And just separate. I think the word noise is so good here because we don't even realize sometimes what is noise,
Totally.
because then we capture it in our mind and then we think it's us,
Totally.
and there becomes this confusion of what are actually your thoughts, who are you, and
That's
what are you subscribing to. So let's go through these 4 steps
yes.
so that people can try them and separate themselves from all
Yeah.
of this external stuff right now.
Absolutely. And what I'll say to that too is it's in that sort of alchemy, it's like the heart is the great metabolizer. So it really does help to kind of reset. So to your point, absolutely. So the first step, and for anyone who has a meditation practice, this can be in support of, I love to say HeartRise plays well with others. And those of you that don't meditate or have struggled with it, this is your jam or not. And if it's not, I won't be offended, but I will tell you that we have a lot of non-meditators that have gotten into it because it is something you can practice. And you really can feel good once you get, and it's active. So it's something to do instead of just trying to sit and quiet the noise when it's like stressful and you're just like, there's no quieting going on, right? Which can be most people's experience. I being one. I mean, I was like fast moving fashion mom, I was in it. I was not like, oh, let's sit and chill. Like, no, that was not me. So this was a really powerful, practical resource that helped me to learn how to harness the energy. So the first step, as with all meditation, is to witness, right? And we'll see and hear things like let the thoughts sort of pass by like passing clouds. And again, like that's all helpful. But I was one of those people who was like, yeah, that might work for 10 seconds and then it's back to the races, right? So instead of just witnessing, which is super powerful, but you want to actually redirect your attention to your heart center. And it's with heart vision, I see. So instead of just trying to quiet the mind and trying to do it at the level of mind, the reason most of us can't do that is because we're emotionally jammed. I call it emotional constipation. We got a lot going on in here. And if we don't alchemize it, if we don't move it, that's why we can't settle. So the first step is with heart vision, I see, really helps you to ground in your heart. And with practice, it gets a lot easier. It feels good too. When we're moved or we're passionate, we do that. Even athletes, I love working. I mean, they call it being in the zone, but after the national anthem, and bless all of our athletes who can't play right. I mean, so many people struggling right now, but it's like, we know we do that when we're moved by something, right? So it's native to us. It's natural. So with heart vision, I see, you bring your attention to your heart center and you can use it for things you want to let go of, or stressors or triggers, fear being a big one. Anything that really sets you off. When we're in the workplace, we work with things like deadlines or challenging people or situation, so it's really practical. So with Heart Vision, I see, you would bring that up. I'm going to just give it to you briefly, but there are resources, so people can tune in if they want to. The second step is with Heart Focus, I feel. And then you really get to feel what shows up when you witness that. So that instead of blocking and suppressing and stuffing it down, you experience it. Because feelings are energy, right? And if we're blocking them, then it's that toxic buildup. And then we're very erosive. We're eruptive. That dragon comes out. And especially now, right now where everything's a little tense, road rage is a classic example I often use. Similarly, you can feel it when people walk into the room. They bring like the radiance or the sunshine, or they bring the like, don't, like you can just tell once they've arrived, the whole like frequency, right? So that's somebody that's holding a lot of like toxic funk, versus somebody that's bringing the light. So when you feel, you're moving the energy. So the second step is with heart focus, I feel. The third step is with heart knowing. So you're building that resilience. I free. So you release. And that's where the alchemy starts to happen. It just feels good with practice. You're like, oh yeah. And then you can just I just get in the zone. Like I'm so practiced with it that I can just feel when, ooh, I'm tense. And then just by resetting, you can just get back into that freeing. And there's a liberation that starts to happen. Your whole body is more at ease. And the last step is with heart wisdom, I flow. And then you come back into this flow state. And it's just that ease of beingness where your head and your heart are in sync. You really start to recalibrate. You're more present. You're not just like waiting for your turn to speak or talking over people. You're actually able to be in communion, in connection, in communication, in understanding, compassion. Doesn't mean you have to agree all the time, but it just means that we can actually commune with each other. So at a leadership level, at a team level, it's really powerful. So it's see, feel, free, flow. It's a rhythm. And there's always the lead word. So with heart vision, I see. With heart focus, I feel. With heart knowing, I free, let go. And with heart wisdom, I flow. And it's percussive. It feels good when and then sometimes we break into, actually on the HeartRise lives that we've been doing the transmissions, at the end, I break into dance, which is also why I'm in my yoga stuff right now, because we're about to do one. But, you can move it into movement too, because when you move the energy, I mean, you can just do it by sitting. And we do this at a corporate level, like I said, or with teams, or schools and communities and groups. So you can do it just sitting still, and it just opens up the flow, but it just gets you feeling more easeful, so that you're not because we're so tense, even before all this situation going on.
And we aren't taught to feel.
No.
Right? So when you give yourself the permission to feel what it feels like in your body, you can start to break down all the slush and things in your body. Yeah.
And to your point, we don't have to. The beauty is we also don't have to analyze. And that's such a relief, because so often, and I'm a big advocate of talk therapy, and it can be very helpful, but I've had people who've done 10 years of talk therapy and they've come and done one session and they're like, whoa, like that just, because we hold a lot, to your point, but we often will sort of talk our way out of it, or think we're, sort of want to buy into the heart or talk about the feelings, but we don't actually feel them. We don't give ourselves permission to experience them. And by feeling them, they can just be released. So you don't have to overanalyze. It's kind of a relief.
Yeah. We don't need to know.
No.
Yeah. I want to dive a little bit more into the concept of the heart. I'm very familiar. I actually did my training through HeartMath also, out in California, but I want to discuss a little bit more about that, because I think it's still foreign to some people. What does it mean coming from the heart and living from the heart? How does that feel in comparison to the mind?
Yeah. Well, there's just a real knowing. So my experience, and what I really love to see and witness in others, and I love to say our radiance is contagious. So One Heart Ignited just empowers all those that it reaches. And so as a community leader, or just leading in your own life, you just have this agency and this conviction where it's like, you don't have to, like, we head trip. I call it head trip and heart power. We're head trippers most of the time. Even the more intellectual and the smarter among us, like, that's where we go, right? We rely on the who train, which my experience and most of the people I've worked with have had, sometimes you have a win, but oftentimes we're just overthinking the shiz out of everything, right? And it's such a waste of our energy, when actually we've got this powerful resource inside that is intelligent, that is a compass, that is an engine that can support us. And so it feels really empowering to start to live and harness that resource. And I often say too, and it's super important to know, it's not that you don't utilize the brilliance of the mind, because you do, but the head bows to the heart's wisdom. So it's just a reorientation. And that feels really good. So they're working together. You got like team.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain how you've been able to take this concept and create a community?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in the spirit of our radiance is contagious, everyone who has joined, it's literally been heart to heart to heart. I've done zero marketing. It's just been so authentic and so organic. And that's why when people do join, they're just like, wow, this is like the most heartfelt community, because it's not about, and I'm all about abundance, and abundance comes. Like, we have some clients that pay, I was just telling you, we have like $30,000 deal on the table, and then I do service work with, inner city kids and war vets. So it's the abundance comes. It's not about that. I believe that, when you're on purpose and you're aligned and you're in tune, the right people show up. And to stay in that heartfelt conviction, really dedicated, and reaching out too, so you do have to be, you can't be doing it all, sort of in your little contained space. It is really important that you put it out there and that you try it on with people that you feel safe. And even if it feels a little unsafe, that's okay too, to just kind of start to really cultivate those connections. And you're better to build a small circuit of people you really trust and love and let that spread, than try and go like bananas and have like 100 people. Because then that's where things get a little shaky and they're less solid. They're less anchored in that same rhythm that you want to cultivate through and permeate. You really want to be able to have your vision permeate and move through the community, and have it be a community that supports that and celebrates that. So that's been my experience. And I've seen when myself, or anyone else for that matter, has tried to do anything that's a little bit bigger in that sense, it's always felt out of alignment. And just to listen too to what is aligned, to be paying attention. Who are the people you want to collaborate with? What are those opportunities? Like even the way, and a big shout out to Anita, she told me, she's like, we need to get you in the ladies community. She was like, this is such a heartfelt community. And she's been a long time HeartRiser, and she's actually doing our leadership training. We're doing the first one ever. And, it's been transformational, the work with HeartRise for her. And so she wanted us to sync up. So I trust those. I get requests all the time, and I'm always really heartful about what are those rightful sort of, it's not about this, it's more just lean into when it feels good. And the more you start to build in that way, and you start to, and asking for support, real courage is just saying, you know what, would you guys be like a little crew for me? Like, I want to offer a free little group session, or whatever your offer is. I want to test this out. If it's a service, I want to have a little, and just, that's the way. I mean, even with these live streams, I do a lot of Zoom connect with our teams, but I was just telling you before we jumped in, I feel so passionate now about doing a daily HeartRise transmission in these tender times. And I just was trying to get my IGTV and the Facebook. Usually I have a few people helping. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like working it out, and it was a bit spazzy the first 3 minutes, but I just owned that. And it doesn't, just to be authentic and to be real is really what it's about. Because that's what we need more of on the planet. Yeah, you don't have to have it all figured out. It's all good.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I hope this short conversation enables people to go into their heart, sink into the heart, connect with their body, and help them to live more authentically, like you're saying, and just own wherever they're at. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about HeartRise? I know you also have some digital courses. Where can they find you and your offers?
Yes, absolutely. So the best way is on the website, heartrisemovement.com. And then through Insta too, we do have a lot of active engagement there, mostly on the HeartRise movement side. And then we have more recently, I've reactivated our Facebook community group, which was kind of laying a little low, but I just was like, it's time, it's go time. So we have the HeartRise Tribe community Facebook group too, which you're super welcome to join in. And then as far as offers and ways to really learn more about the method, I would say we have the monthly tribe, which is epic. That's like I look so forward to that, because I used to facilitate a lot of group sessions, and due to demand, I'm a little bit less able to do that as much. So the monthly tribe brings together, we have like Anna in Guangzhou, and we have Andrea in Denver, and we have Hannah in Holland, but all beautiful brave hearts that gather in this space. So that's a monthly workshop that's digital, that's always on the full moon. It's badass. We have a lot of fun. We practice the method. It's themed, and you can do an annual if you wanted to be really a part of the community. So that's one way. And then the actual course, which is the HeartRise Foundation course, it's a way to learn the method. It's digital. We recorded it with a live group, but it's people who have done it have said they feel like they're right in there with it. And it's really yummy. And these are good times to be enrolling in that too, and to really learn the method. I also have a meditation fuel kit that you can check out if you just want to get your meditation on and tune in and just listen. And podcast is another way. So the High on Heart podcast has a lot of good content in there as well. And if you wanted to ever bring us into your team or community, reach out. We do a lot with corporate and schools. And last thing, we're doing leadership training too. So I am taking 10 brave hearts through the leadership training so that we have more support, because, this is in demand and we need more heart right now on the planet. And I'm really passionate about that. So those are a few of the ways, and I'm available. Reach out. I'm here for you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. So you can go find her, Jessie May Wolfe. And like I said, I hope this conversation helps you to connect to your heart so that you can share more love and radiate that in your home and in the earth right now, because I feel like we need it. And I'm so grateful that you took the time to share your love and positivity with me and the community today. So thank you, Jessie May.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure. Love you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Love you so much. Thanks for listening, and sending you a big hug and so much love from my heart to yours. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.